This episode is called I Am 48, I Am Child Free, and I've never been married. And guess what? That's okay.
Melyssa Ford, hip hop model, video vixen, and podcaster, opened up about her love life in a recent interview. As a 48-year-old child-free self-proclaimed cat lady, she went on for almost hours about the 2.5 engagements she had that never materialized into marriage. The half engagement was with a man who loved her, was funny, was handsome, was successful, treated her well.
I was involved with a man who loved me. He was good looking, he was tall, he was charismatic, gregarious. Everybody loved him. My mom loved him, my sister loved him, my niece loved him, my friends loved him. Everybody loved him. But there was something inside of me that just said, this is not perfect. It's the furthest thing from perfect.
In her words, it just wasn't perfect. So she eventually ran from the relationship once she figured out he intended to propose to her. The other engagement ended up being with a man she fell head over heels for, but he ended up being abusive. And then the last engagement, which happened around her 30s, was with another stable, loving man. In her own words, she felt like she lost herself in the relationship, but she just wasn't into him.
The last engagement, when I was approximately 36, 37 years old. And I'll be honest, I thought that I was in love with this man, but I wasn't. What I was traumatized from an experience that had happened to me on a cruise ship where I was almost raped. I was so traumatized by what had happened to me that when this man appeared, he was offering safety and security. He was physically huge, but he also came with a very secure lifestyle and a lot of security. And so I felt safe. And that's the only thing I was looking for. I was looking for safety. And so I lied to myself. And it was very easy to do that, to just dive in head first, forget the rocks below. And during the process of this relationship, I started to realize that I was losing myself completely and totally. Obviously, you make all these decisions, but it's got to bring you back pointing due north, which leads me to where I am now, 48, child free, and never been married. And honestly, with zero regrets.
She goes on to explain that marriage for her growing up was often connected with abuse and misuse and control and manipulation of women, constant bickering, arguing, and basically it taught her how to distrust men. She goes on to explain how women are often made to feel pressured to live up to societal expectations at the expense of their own happiness. How women are made to feel strange if they don't center their lives around men. And she offers advice to other young ladies to follow their hearts, to decenter men, and to know that they can experience love and happiness even if men are not in their life. And she leaves with these words of advice. Before we move on, I want you to know that who she's quoting is a content creator named Sunflower, a self-proclaimed dominatrix who said that she attracts white men who specifically want to be verbally humiliated and dominated by a black woman demanding reparations for them. This is who she's quoting. Let's continue.
I saw something on Instagram that I wanted to read today. It says, marriage is the lowest paid form of sex work. Women are owed reparations. The people we lay with are the people who are most likely to kill us, which sounds really dark, but that's the reality we're living in.
So here's the first lie right here. Marriage is the lowest paid form of sex work. That is a complete and utter disrespect to what marriage actually is. Now, if you're looking at marriage as a business contract from the secular point of view, okay, perhaps somebody could argue that, but certainly I'm sure Jeff Bezos' wife didn't believe that. Certainly I'm sure Melinda Gates didn't believe that. Certainly Michael Jordan's wife isn't saying that. Like, think of a lot of the women who have initiated divorce who end up with alimony, who end up with half of the resources, housewives who haven't worked a day of corporate in their life. Maybe they've done other things, But I mean, just I think statistically, I would really challenge that. But again, that assumes marriage is a business contract. Marriage is not a business contract. Marriage at its core is a covenant between man, woman, and God. And that goes far, and that is not transactional. That is legacy. That is vision. That is generational blessing. That is setting up the course of a family to thrive and that bloodline to thrive and be prosperous. That's completely different than some business contract and sex work. And so that's just a lie. Another one here, women are owed reparations. What in the heck are you talking about? I'm sure every man in here who has gone through a really difficult divorce and had his assets taken from him or children taken from him or paternity fought is going to look at that and just scoff. That's ridiculous. Another one Another one right here. The people we lay with are the people who are most likely to kill us, which sounds really dark, but that's the reality we're living in. Let's remember that violence is bidirectional. And also, by the way, women are the ones who initiate violence. So I really want to challenge this idea that women are just these oppressive, weak, weak victims that have no ability to take care of themselves. And these big, old, brutish, evil men are just abusing them. It's like, no, no. There are two sides to every story. And also, let's actually empirically, the data speaks to something quite different. Women are a lot more violent than they give themselves credit.
The reality is, women have lost their lives in pursuit of men. Women have lost their futures in pursuit of love. I think we all need to really sit down and ask ourselves as individuals, what does love actually mean for me? And what in my life resembles that? Does the man that I've chosen resemble that love that I want and deserve?
The issue here is not the pursuit of love. The issue is the pursuit of a fantasy. And a lot of times women confuse fantasy and Disney and sitcoms with true love. And notice even earlier on when she was explaining her half engagement, she said there was really nothing wrong with the guy other than the fact that it just didn't seem perfect. That is just a small example of how sometimes women can be caught up with a fantasy that does not exist. And when you are chasing a fantasy or an illusion that does not exist, that is usually going to end up nowhere. Or in some cases, it can actually end up being very dangerous. But the root cause here is a woman without a center, a woman without a stable relationship with God or an understanding of the value of spiritual authority and having a healthy spiritual community to ground her. Now, some of you guys are not going to understand this, but unfortunately, the West has a very individualistic mindset. There's a very broken concept of family, and many people walk around like they're orphans, but trying to depend upon themselves, operate individualistically, operate as if they have no other support. That's become very common in our culture, but that's actually anti-God. That is not how God created humanity to exist at all. And so when you have people growing up generation after generation after generation with a broken family structure, not understanding how community works on just a foundational level, and not understanding the value of doing things, not only from a community standpoint, but also the value of spiritual principles, it can create room for women to just be deceived by fantasies. And this is what is going on. This is what is going on. There is no God-fearing woman out there who is in a vibrant relationship with God and in a healthy, grounded covenant of marriage who is having her life be destroyed by marriage, is having her life be destroyed by that loving relationship. That does not exist. What is happening is there are broken women without a sense of identity, getting caught up in fantasies and attracting themselves to other broken toxic men. That is the truth. Now, the next part, it says, I think we all need to really sit down and ask ourselves as individuals, what does love actually mean for me? And what in my life resembles that? Does the man that I've chosen resemble that love that I want and deserve? Here's another lie. Love isn't something that we define individually. God is love. God is the one that sets the parameters for love. And what I mean is this, human love is very fickle. all we have to do is look at social media. You have some celebrities who they love them, they have fans one day, and then the next day that same celebrity is being chewed out. Media is hating on them. People are turning their backs on them. Like, human love is fickle. Human love is based upon circumstance. Divine love, God's love, is choice. It is action. It is it requires selflessness. It requires, I love you, so therefore I do. Not, I love you, so therefore I take. It's a completely different mindset. But unfortunately, again, there's these warped concepts of what love means. We're looking at these romance series and we're thinking love is this man who's just going to sweep me off of my feet and treat me like a princess and essentially fulfill all the needs of my heart that I didn't get met by my dad or my mom, or that I ultimately need God to heal. Like, we mix up those roles. And again, it creates this really unhealthy idea of what love is supposed to be. But love is not something that a woman just defines based upon what works for her. Because, like I said, if that's the point, then the parameters of that love are going to change every single day with her hormones, with her mood, with the weather, with what she ate or what she didn't wait. It's just going to be chaotic. I appreciate her sharing her journey. I think stories like her are important to hear because she represents what a lot of women think and what a lot of women believe. If what resonates to you is also being a 48-year-old childless, self-proclaimed cat lady, like, if that is the future that you want for yourself, then by all means follow her advice. I'm just here to tell you that a lot of that stuff that was said is based upon a lie. A lot of the fear mongering that goes around with marriage in respects to covenant between a man and woman is also based around fear mongering. It's based upon toxicity. It's based upon trauma, but is not the full story. And it is not what God intended. There are also absolutely healthy, thriving relationships out there today. And if somebody really wants it, what they don't need to do is go around and make excuses as for why they can't have it. It's more important to sit down, learn from those who are doing it right, and ask yourself some really hard questions. That's the way forward, not to try to pretend like it doesn't matter, but to actually put yourself in a position to get what you want. And like I said, that might require some accountability, that might require some self-introspection, and it is likely going to require that a lot of these toxic mindsets that are being shoved down the throats of women be completely thrown away. And listen, I'm not here to judge a woman just because she doesn't want to get married. If that's what somebody chooses, that's their choice. My problem is that if somebody says that they chose to be single, but then spends all of their time undermining, bashing, and lying about marriage, particularly God's covenant, that's where there is a problem, because there is blessing in covenant. A lot of the other stuff, the fear mongering, those are all lies. And that's based upon people's toxicity or based upon false ideas of love, false ideas of what a man's supposed to do or a woman's supposed to do, but they ain't got nothing to do with God, and that has nothing to do with what God intended when He said the two shall become one. Anyways, those are my thoughts. What do y'all think? Let me know down in the comment section. We'll talk later. Bye.